I kind of had to run out of the house because 10 minutes on Twitter was more than enough. What I was thinking on the way up here was, how do you apply ideas of calculus or cohomology to business models? Because it was the thing that really did my head in was that SolidWorks commercial. And the whole emphasis of connecting businesses just screamed wrong. And so what I thought on the way up the hill was, how do you use notions of continuity in business planning, especially when you're doing something like, I've been thinking about this a lot because of the Nobody Studios stuff, and they are trying to incubate 100 startups in 5 years, and they're expecting a bunch of failures. And what you want is it's not just a business model, it's also a design methodology. You really need your design decisions not to be reversible, which involves, recycling and energy intensive stuff. When a business fails, or when a design fails, or when a manufactured product fails, what I think you need is for the component parts to be reusable, so that you want a design methodology and a business methodology, but let's think about the design methodology because it seems slightly easier, although it shouldn't be, because you've got this invention called money, but there's a problem with that one. So you want a design methodology which doesn't commit the parts to any particular conception of a whole. In other words, that used to be called modularity. You want to emphasize modularity, and to get modularity working, what you need to define are not the objects, which SolidWorks focuses on completely. What you need to get right are the interfaces and the kinds of interface that you have. And they could be hydraulics, they could be electrical, they could be mechanical frame constructions. So there was a lot in those designs that handled that, but the basic, these engines and motors and things like that involve a lot of parts. It's very hard to see how they could be modular or reusable. For instance, a manifold on an engine. I can't see a modular way of doing that because it's impacted by so many different things about how the engine burns fuel, how it handles exhaust, how it prepares for combustion. So, but I did spend a long time sitting on the floor of, I had a fantastic time. It was about 3 or 4 days sitting on the floor of the bus station in Cochabamba, thinking about how you could do some kind of modular design of turbine engines, because you have an axle, and an axle is, and the rotational energy is your kind of, gives you a framework on which you can hang a lot of stuff. You can put generators, you can have compressors, discs, and it turns out a bunch of Tesla's original ideas work on an axle. And so what I was sitting there thinking about, chewing my coca on the floor of the bus station, was all of the different systems you could build. Was just a test rig that actually doesn't look much different to a lathe, but it's a lathe. You don't know what's the motor and what you're cutting, and you can even integrate manufacture into that system so that your manufacturer of your milling certain types of disc, or you're coating discs with polymers or metals, and you've got this same axis that you can use to, good morning, the same axis that you can use to hang the manufacturing process. And the reason I was thinking about that was because earlier, a year or two earlier, when I was in La Paz, I was thinking, I found out about this hydrogen separation chemistry. Somebody had found out a way of taking methane, and maybe it works for other combustibles, but anyway, they'd pretty much done it for methane. If you get pure enough methane, you can separate it into carbon and hydrogen, and you get a very pure source of hydrogen and a very pure source of carbon. And you can use the carbon in manufacture and all sorts of things, and you can use the hydrogen, and the whole process is it requires energy, but you're burning this stuff anyway, right? And it generates heat. So if you can clean up the manufacturing processes, you're just making more use of the thermal gradient. And if you design your cities, and because I'd seen how they were pumping LNG, was it? No, they were pumping methane all around La Paz, free gas from YPF that Ava was giving everybody. And basically people in La Paz only paid a couple of dollars for their heating a month. And They were pumping it around to all the houses, but in a highly combustible form. It gave me the heebie-jeebies, especially given how unstable that whole slope is in La Paz. So anyway, I was thinking about that. So the idea of continuity in design methodology and manufacturing needs to I think that should be the emphasis. And then you need to find a way that you can do that in the business plans. So instead of a business being focused on making one particular type of diesel generator in huge quantities and shipping it all over the world, you think about how you can make the parts that could be used in some kind of electricity generator. But you don't have to decide right then and there what kind of electricity generator is best suited to every place on Earth. So you've got this markets, trying to extend it to the business plan. You have markets that are different in different countries, and you need some kind of continuity when you map products to markets. And I would have thought central to this whole thing is sharing intellectual property, because intellectual property actually isn't worth anything if it's not shared. But it's defined by it's only intellectual if you can explain it to someone else. Yeah. So I thought about systems that you can use to, and in the end it comes down to the level of you're sharing the results of you're sharing almost experimental results and measurements. I mean, their business could be testing electrical characteristics of certain types of coating on silicon wafers that are used in rotational engines as high-speed flywheels. Just look at Ben Krasnow's channel to see the kinds of product and the kinds of IP that you could develop and share, and that's what he's been doing. But I don't know what his business model is. Patreon, I guess. But the necessity is that you've got to have kind of circularity in the value flow or the evaluation. Something is worth more to someone if they don't have to commit themselves. If you can have a business plan which is, well, we either make this generator and we sell a design to these people, or we develop a whole lot of technology for hydrogen combustion, and we sell the IP, we sell our experimental results. So failure isn't, there's no discontinuity in what is the function that you're trying to make smooth here. It's the going bust discontinuities. It's some sort of function of viability. Guess I need some more input. I think it was that one jackdaw. I think it was just one jackdaw. Hello? One squirrel. And I was talking so much I didn't notice a single mushroom. The other thing I was thinking about when Freya was doing those, her extrusion, she's generalized the idea quite a lot. I was thinking about trees, because their growth, there's some sense in which you should be able to model the growth of the tree if you study how it produces its shoots and the order in which it produces things, like these tiny little branches here. And if you look at a beech when it's smaller, and then you study a beech that wasn't crowded, I guess this one grew up here, and it's branching way. First major branches are very high because of the competition down the bottom, I guess. But if you look at an old beech, it's got major branches at about 6 feet, 7, 10 feet. And I don't know what fungi are associated with the root systems. You wonder what the root systems are like for the different trees. Whether a tree that's grown up under these conditions actually has a root system that's big enough to keep it upright when it reaches the kind of proportions that it would in 70 years' time. Here's a bigger one. There's a failed business. This is at the edge. Yeah, so these lower branches were worth growing because it gathered more light. Look at the way it's they grow their leaves in planes so that they get the light. So because it's at the edge, it gets more encouragement to do that than the ones that are growing up in here. They go up until they... Oh, that's it, look. Maybe that's a result of coppicing, because this is that light spot that look at that. That's not beech. Maybe that's a rowan. I should look that up. Must be related though. It's just really different bark. Oh wow.